Hi everybody, we are going to do notes on conditionals and variable tracking. So before we do this, there's some new symbols that you will need to know, and I'm just going to circle them here. So we have and, or, not, equal to, and not equal to. On the left are the symbols, and on the right are the words that they correspond to. You don't really need to know so much what and, or, and not means right now. Just know that those are the symbols. Over here, on the very right, we have some additional symbols. We have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. Notice that obviously I cannot write greater than or equal to like this on the computer because there's no such symbol, but instead, if I'm writing in the computer, I'm going to use this sign, so not this. Let's go ahead and translate some of these statements now. So if C is odd, so let's try to think about properties of odd numbers. Okay, so first of all, let's think, what's the opposite of an odd number? Well, the opposite of an odd number is even. And what are even numbers divisible by? 2. So let's try to see what happens whenever I have an odd number. So if I divide 3 by 2, 3 divided by 2 is 1, remainder 1. Let's try a different number. 15 divided by 2, that's 7, remainder 1. You can see that as a pattern, if I divide any odd number by 2, my remainder is going to be 1. So one answer I can put is if C modulus 2 equals 1, or if C mod 2 equals 1. That means that if I divide C by 2, I'm going to get a remainder of 1 all the time. And this is how I say if C is odd. Another way that some people like to do this is they could say if the remainder is not 0. So if I have an even number like 26, that's going to be 13 remainder 0, because if I divide by 2, nothing will be left over. So if my remainder is 0, that means after I divide by 2, that means I have an even number. But if the remainder is not 0, then it's got to be an odd number. So either one of these solutions will work. So this one's fine, or you can write this one. It doesn't really matter. Let's try another one. If x is divisible by 7, let's think of some numbers divisible by 7. So we've got 7, 7, 14, 21, 28, 70, just a bunch of examples. So this is actually kind of similar to the last example we did. If we divide all these multiples of 7, if we divide them by 7, what will we get as a remainder? Well, remainder will be 0 because 7 goes in evenly. So as you can see, no matter what multiple of 7 I do, I'm always going to get a remainder of 0. So I could just say if x mod 7 equals 0 in order to say it's divisible by 7. And that's my answer. Let's continue. If g is a multiple of 5 and c is not equal to 20. So we can just go ahead, replace and with those two ampersands. If you prefer, if some people really hate drawing those, you can put that for and instead, and that's perfectly fine. So let's look at this. Multiple of 5, it just means the same as divisible by 5, because multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, etc., 25, go up to 50, really anything divisible by 5. So this is just like the last example, it's just that it's 5. So if I divide any multiple of 5 by 5, what do I get as a remainder? Well, since I get a remainder of 0, I'll just put g mod 5 equals 0. Remember, we're going to put equals here. Then we have to do c is not equal to 20, so just put that in parentheses. The not equal sign is exclamation mark equals, and then we put a 20 right here. Let's look at the next one. If y is negative, or if y is not less than 19. Let's try this. So let's think about where are negative numbers? What are properties of all negative numbers? Well, negative numbers on the number line are anything to the left of 0. These are my negatives. So what could I put? I could just put y is less than 0 to say that it's negative. We can also say, let's do the other one. I already wrote the or symbol, those two goalposts. Y is not less than 19. So let's think about this. There's really no such symbol as not less than. That is not a thing. So you cannot put y is not less than 19. That's a bad thing to do. Let me erase this little part here. So not just means the opposite of. So let's think about this. What is the opposite of less than? If you said greater than, you would be almost right. But remember, let's look at our little number line here. So we've got 19. The numbers less than 19 would be anything to the left of it. So the opposite of that would be numbers that are not only greater than, but also equal to 19. So the opposite of less than is greater than or equal to. So let's just put that up here. And that's pretty much it. Technically, you can do not y is less than 19, and technically that works. I would prefer it a little more simplified. Also, most people who do this will get it wrong because they'll forget the parentheses. If you leave off the parentheses like this, that will generate an error. So you have to put in the parentheses if you're doing it this way. I would kind of prefer that you don't do it this way since this just isn't simplified. So you know what, let's just say that's not as good of a way to do this. I'm going to circle the good way, which is this one. Let's do 6b. If x is between 10 and 15 inclusive. So let's look at that number line again. 10 to 15 has to be inclusive, so that means we do include both. Some people, when they were doing this in Algebra 1, they would say something to the effect of this, like it's between 10 and 15. But this is, although this is fine for algebra, it does not translate to Java. You cannot, if you wrote this in Java, even if you translated the symbol, the less than or equal to symbols, you would get an error, so don't do this. Instead, what you need to do is separate them out. So you need to say x is greater than or equal to 10. Also, x is less than or equal to 15. And I should actually translate that other symbol so that it's a Java symbol. And that would work. Just think about this. What symbol needs to go in the middle to join them together? Well, according to algebra, and you want them both to be true at the same time. So this will be your answer. Now, some people will instead write it like x is less than or equal to 10, and x is greater than or equal to 10, and x is less than or equal to 15. And that's the same thing. That will also work. That is it for this part of the video. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.